point or two from a draw. So he's in his mind, I think he's thinking like 11 points before last night. So if you take 3, that still leaves 8 points needed, which would get him to 53.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that good enough? And, so right now as we sit here, 4th place, San Jose, right behind us at 44 points, can they, I think that's about right. The 53-point mark, I think that could do it. That's close.
Well, and I'd like to see the strength of schedule now, because obviously our strength of schedule was very high because of an away game at LA.
So it dropped a little bit. But
and now that we just beat LA at LA, you have to wonder how they're going to rate LA at Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Because to me, I said before we started recording, I was hoping for a point when they come here. Now, to me, I've changed. I say, look, we just beat them in LA. I'm hoping for 3 now. I mean, I think that's I think that's a logical progression.
It's
of
very
expectations.
logical. It's very logical to kick somebody's ass at their own home and then bring it back to your house and kick their ass again.
So now still though, in 28 MLS games, LAFC has only lost 4 times. They've only,
and 2 of them are to us.
So maybe
no, one of them. In 28 games this year.
Oh, sorry.
this year, yeah.
LAFC has only lost 4 times.
Well, so one's to us.
Yeah, exactly.
One's to us.
Maybe we're like the kryptonite for LAFC.
Yeah.
Could be.
It's possible.
Kind of like the Twins versus the Yankees.
So,
back
I mean,
in the
then,
day.
real quick then, I guess, I think it's already decided, but you look at some of these 6 games remaining, and I'll focus on the ones that are on the road, would be, the final game of the year will be at Seattle. That's gonna be a tough one, but they also have at Portland in a few weeks. So there's a couple difficult road games remaining, but then, not to mention Houston.
Well, Houston
midweek. And we talked about the international call-ups, and maybe we should roll that back in, because we already mentioned Lod and Schuler. But Lod, Schuler, Jan Gregus, and Kevin Molino are all gone now for international duty. And looking at the schedule's a little bit, but bottom line is those 4 players, and not to mention Mason Toye and Dotson, who play a game on September 9th. Depends on if they play, how much they play. Will they be available for September 11th versus Houston? Because those 4, basically midfielders that I mentioned, their final games are either on the 8th or the 9th. They play 2 games, I think the 5th and 6th, and the 8th and 9th. So if they play a full 90 or something on that 8th or 9th, are they going to be available for the 11th?
Well, my question
up in the air.
My question is: does Houston play a game this coming up weekend?
They play. I believe they already played on Saturday.
I mean, coming up this next weekend, because we've got a friendly.
Yeah,
when we have a friendly.
Does Houston play a game on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or do they play this week sometime? Because the question is, they're at 31 points. They are. I mean, they're on the outside looking in right now.
Their next game is the 11th.
Yeah.
So their next game is.
In fact, they don't even have anything, so they're off completely.
But before that game even starts, they could. I mean, not technically be out of the playoffs, but they could be really hurting for a playoff spot.
And I would imagine they're probably going to lose 2 or 3 guys to call-ups.
Okay.
Because last international break, I think they lost 4.
They did. Yeah.
So, I mean, how aggressive is Houston going to be on the 11th? That's my question.
Well, and here's the thing. I mean, standings-wise, they're out of the playoffs. I mean, I don't see them. They're at 31 points. I do not see them overtaking Sporting or Portland.
Exactly.
To get into the playoffs. They're not mathematically out, obviously.
Yeah.
But realistically, they could go into a bit of a shutdown. You know, they've already gotten rid of their manager.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. They're kind of an oddball. If Dave said that he thinks 8 points more yet, I see 1 point at Houston. I see 4 with a win against Salt Lake. I see 7 with a win against Sporting, and you got LAFC at home 8 or 10 right there.
Okay.
I think we can lose at Portland. We can lose it at Seattle, and I would bet anything Adrian Heath will play as if it's dropped points with Portland.
Yeah. And Portland will be all happy because they'll be like, oh, look, we won against you guys this year. Whee!
Yeah, that'll be a serious revenge game.
And we'll say, okay, so who gives a shit?
Right.
Yeah, because Portland, I mean, they're right in the throes of this too. They're in eighth, only out by 2 points, and most of their games, it's either 4 or 5 of their remaining 6 are at home, so they're going to have a good chance.
And on
to
top
pop
of
in
that, they're at least a game back of everybody. They have a game in hand on everyone.
Game in hand,
good point.
Plus, they have 2 games in hand on FC Dallas, who's 3 points ahead of them. I mean, Dallas is screwed, in my opinion.
Yeah, they are.
I think that they're in trouble when it comes to playoffs.
So is the Galaxy, I think, too. I think the Galaxy are on a tailspin.
Yeah, I mean...
They're sitting in about the same spot they were last year, I think going into Decision Day last year, LA Galaxy. Yeah, I mean, they finished... Did they not finish with...
They finished just outside. Didn't they?
Yeah, just outside, yeah.
And Sporting's at 37. So, Sporting's going to be a tough match at home. They're going to be because they're in the... They're
there.
They're right there. And especially with SC Dallas... Actually, they have a game in hand over FC Dallas, too. So, 3 points against us at Allianz Field is going to be big for Sporting.
I mean, you nailed it. Sporting Kansas City. I mean, if you talk about teams that are trending up, that would be Sporting Kansas City with 3 wins in a row, including, beating Minnesota United.
This is going to be the wild, wild west. Guys.
This is
going to be crazy. Yeah. We're coming down to Decision Day, and it's going to be flipping nuts.
It looks better now that we're sitting with 45 points as opposed to, a loss that we were all kind of expecting. Granted, Minnesota still would have been in that 7th spot after that loss, but they would have been sitting there with their 42 points. Now you're kind of fighting for a playoff spot. At least now we're still having the conversation of that home.
And think about this. The tiebreaker, first tiebreaker is wins. So you have Seattle, Minnesota, San Jose, Salt Lake, and LA all have 13 wins.
So that was a big win last night, just to kind of keep pace with that first tiebreaker.
And what's even worse is FC Dallas and Portland have 12. So, I mean, it's like... Right now, it is goal difference. So, Minnesota with a 9 goal difference.
Yes.
That is massive.
It's huge.
Yeah. So, the fact we got 2 goals, not only that we got the win last night, but the fact that we had a shutout.
Shutout, yep.
That was big for our playoff chances.
I don't want to beat it at dead horse, guys, but even looking at the standings right now, looking at that KC loss, makes it even... I mean, it's better that we won last night, but if we had won against KC and won last night, KC would pretty much be out of the playoffs. Yeah. And now look at all the teams that are pretty much vying for these last 6 spots here. It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited, but it's also very concerning for me.
And I mean, kind of we went about this in an indirect way, but basically, realistically, we are saying that there's 9 teams vying for 7 spots. Yep. And David, I think we made the case for both Portland and Sporting Kansas City to have a real good shot at climbing up into the playoffs at expense of a team like Dallas or LA or
Dallas is most certainly the one that should be the most worried because they have that extra game played already. And I'd be curious to know why it's already September and they have an extra game played.
Well,
they've had 2, or earlier this year was 2.
Vancouver's got 2 extra game in hands on everybody. They played 30.
Oh yeah, they've done 30 already,
and they're eliminated, so it doesn't give a shit. They don't give a shit. But
that hurts when you play extra games early in the season.
Oh yeah,
and all of a sudden you have teams below you with those games in hand. Mm-hmm. That's not a pleasant sight to see when you're looking at standings.
This is going to be a bit, and we're going to be talking about the playoffs for the next couple of weeks, guys. Next couple podcasts is all going to be playoff talk and what happened and how things are going. Our next game we have is a friendly.
Yeah, it's Pachuca.
We should. I think they're going to. I wonder if they're going to rotate that game a little bit. Maybe not put their best lineup out for that one.
I would hope so.
I would.
I say that kind of tongue in cheek. Of course,
Chacon's going to play.
Yeah, I would bet Chacon starts. Mm-hmm. I would bet. What's his name? Who's at Madison?
Oh, Manley, Carter Manley, possibly.
Him, but what's the? He's from Africa.
Benghazi. Now he actually got called. We're talking about international call-ups earlier. He actually was called up to Tasmania.
Yeah, he was.
I hope I got that right. But bottom line is, Ngazi actually got called up for national duty as well.
He wouldn't even be available.
No, he won't be.
So I would say that in this friendly, St. Clair is going to start in goal. I would think.
Oh, I would think so.
And I would think that everybody, all the young guys starting, who are not like in the starting rotation.
I mean, it'll be, Colin Martin will start. Who else is there? Chacon will probably start. Moambe will start.
Omsberg and Manley. And
unfortunately, I'm going to say Miguel's going to start, and this will be his.
I would probably bet
part of his farewell tour. I have a feeling.
It's a little early yet, but I'm not too confident he'll be here.
I'm not either.
He'll be unprotected in the expansion draft, and he'll probably go in that. Quite honestly,
yeah. Before we kind of take off, guys, I just want to say, after Mason Toy's thing last night, I look at this team and I go, man, we are young and we are talented now.
I agree.
Even though we brought in some older players during the offseason, the Ikaparas, the Aussies. I look at Toys, 20 years old. I look at Dotson. I look at Gasper. I look at how old's Jan?
Jan's only 27, I think.
Yeah, how old's Jan? I look at St. Clair, who's, of course, Vito's holding his own right now, but I look at St. Clair.
We had a 19-year-old Chacon on.
Yeah,
Chacon. And I look at these guys and I go, God, we are growing.
Yeah. And in fact, Ngazi's, 18, 19?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he'll be available next year.
Yeah.
And then you look at the moves that they made and how key has players like the older guys, Parra and Alonso, been. They've been extremely important for the success of this team. But you almost kind of look at those guys as transitional guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Building our team of the future.
Yeah, I think, and obviously we'll have an episode about this by the end of the season. I see Boxall's probably got one more year.
Yeah.
Angelo will probably be gone after next year.
Yeah.
Darwin may not make it to next year. You've got Ozzy will probably be here for one more year. Ike will probably be here for one more year. I mean, they'll probably end up retiring when they leave us.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah. Hey, look, how old is Romain? Is he?
He's 29, I think.
29? He's up there.
Yeah.
But I look at it and I go, this is a young, and it's not just young guys. They're all talented players.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because sometimes you get a bunch of young guys in, and maybe one's very talented and the rest of them are just kind of like, we're looking at them and what.
Right.
No. There are at least 3 guys on this team right now between, the Toy and the Gasper and the Dotson who are talented guys who can start in MLS right now.
Right.
And they're under the age of 22.
Yeah, I keep banging the drum, but I mean, I'm just stunned, really, because Toy was a bit of a question mark coming into this year.
Big question mark,
even though he had only had a year with us. But
yeah,
the super draft. I mean, I was
That's
almost
crazy.
throwing it. I was kind of, what's the word? I was kind of like downplaying the significance of that
but
draft.
everybody
hate the
does.
super draft.
I
still.
But how big has that been for this team?
But in MLS, I think a lot of teams downplay the super draft. I don't think you get a lot of talent.
You get very little talent out of it.
And the fact that we potentially got 3 talented players out of last year's super draft, I mean, our scouting personnel did a spot-on job. They should get raises.
And the thing is you still got players like Carter Manley who haven't panned out yet, but there's a chance. Yeah. Now, however, the expansion draft this offseason makes things really crazy because Manley's obviously not going to be protected, so he may be gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to consider the fact that even Den Lottie, who also probably won't be protected in the expansion draft.
No way.
There's still a chance that he could turn it around. He's still very young.
He could.
In the super draft.
And he may not be protected, but that's no guarantee that he'll be gone because they only get a handful of players.
Exactly.
I mean, this is quick talk. We'll talk about this when the season's over and going to next season. But I'm very excited about the young players in this team. I seeing Toy come up yesterday just kind of put the exclamation point on him this year for me. Seeing what he did yesterday was like,
and he's the man. And his run kind of in the U.S. Open Cup.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,